Hello humans, it's just Martine, and every day in May I'm going to read an Amazon original story. I forget when they started it. I wasn't really in the know at first, but Amazon has been publishing original short stories, specifically in collections under their publishing imprints. They've started including one with every Amazon First Reads. I did a whole Kindle Clear Out episode about short stories. I only have a couple that I own on Kindle, but as an Amazon Prime member and a Kindle Unlimited member, I have access to all of them. And I thought, wouldn't it be swell if I spent the next 31 days reading 31 of them? On its face, this doesn't seem like the worst challenge ever, right? These are not long. They can range anywhere from 25 to 100 pages, but don't tend to get any longer than that. They should be pretty fun, right? And if I don't like something, it won't last for very long. However, there are a couple things that I think are going to be difficult about this. One is making sure I'm actually keeping up with my reading spreadsheet while I do this. I'm already behind, so I don't want to get more behind on my reading spreadsheet. That's going to be an issue. Two, there are books other than these short stories that I want to read in the month of May. I got to squeeze them in between all the things. I'm going to start by focusing on the ones that I still own. So today I'm going to start off with The Fall Risk by Abby Jimenez. None of the other books that I'm currently reading are romances, so I could use a cute little story. So we're going to start with that. I also have not yet checked to see if there's a short story to go with the May First Reads, so I'll have to look at that. I'm thinking of doing like a tier ranking type situation. Maybe, I don't really know how I'm going to do it. I should have been more prepared for this. So maybe the hardest thing about this challenge is going to be making this video. Regardless, it's May 1st. Let's get reading. I don't really know what to do with myself tier ranking wise, because I feel like you cannot start off by giving something a superior rating. But like, that's the inclination that I have right now, because today for my first short story, I read The Fall Risk. The Fall Risk? Is there a the? The Fall Risk? I read The Fall Risk by Abby Jimenez, and I'm giving it 4 stars. So I suppose actually that would be A tier, right? Because if there are 5 tiers and I didn't give it a 5-star, then it's not an S tier. Do I think we will actually find an S tier original short story here? I'm not confident, but this was a solid A tier short story. It's a cute little love story with the wackiest beginning. We're following 2 main characters. They live across the hall from one another. One morning, they wake up, their stairs are gone. They're trapped on the 2nd floor while their stairs are replaced. There were moments where I guffawed. So funny. Very cute. There were a lot of plot conveniences. I should say plot conveniences that did not feel natural in the story. I feel like that's necessary to make a whole plot fit into that small of a space. So, A tier. A good start. It's May 2nd, and today I read The Sublet by Greer Hendricks, which I'm giving 3.5 stars. It's a short story about a ghostwriter who moves into a new apartment. Honestly, thrillers are just really hard to do in 60 pages or less. So I felt like this was a really solid attempt at a thriller that was this short, but at the end of the day, that's just a really hard ask. So this is a solid B tier read, which, to be honest with you, I feel like I've been giving so many 3 and 3.5 stars to books this year that I would anticipate that this B tier is going to be full of books by the end of the month. But I guess we'll see. It's May 3rd, and the story that I read today was Gentle as the Angel of Death by Dean Koontz. I read the entire first season of these nameless stories, I think during Wonderathon last year, and then I read the first one in season 2, I forget when, but a little while ago. And so I read this one because Squash That series started today. Unfortunately, I'm giving it 2.5. I was going to say 2.5 points, but a 2.5 star. I just don't like the writing in this series. And I think this is the only series by Dean Koontz that I've read, so maybe I just hate Dean Koontz's writing. I don't know. Anyway, so this is a C tier read. On this, the 4th of May, I read The One That Got Away by Mike Gale, which is about what a guy is going to do on the day that his ex-girlfriend, who claims she does not believe in love, is getting married. I had a pretty fun time with this. I'm giving it 4 stars, making it a solid A tier read. I think that one theme that might emerge is that books with very simple concepts will do better in this challenge. Like, I'm not trying to solve a whole mystery or a whole case or do something crazy in this short of a period of time. I just want like a couple good quotes, and a care about the characters that I'm reading about. That's something to consider. Granted, a lot of these short stories are very, like, plot driven. There are a lot of mystery ones, a lot of sci-fi ones. I actually haven't read any of the sci-fi ones yet, so I am curious, like, how much plot those try to have or how much world building. But this one worked, so happy Cinco de Mayo. Today I read The Vanishing Man, which is the first of 3 stories. They're actually serialized, which I thought might be the case. Some Amazon short stories are like completely separate stories, but then some are just longer stories cut up into chunks, and this is a chunk of a story. In this whole serialized story, we're following a Russian spy who's defecting to the CIA, or is he? And the setup was pretty good. I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. I do think it's kind of annoying that we don't get like a full resolution of any kind in each story, like especially this first one. I don't know about the second and the third. I'll read them later this month and maybe I'll remember to tell you, but I feel like if you're going to serialize it that way, at least make it feel like that happened for a reason, or like each chunk makes sense as it is. B tier. It's May 6th, and today I read The Prince and the Troll by Rainbow Rowell, which I gave 3.5 stars, making it a solidly B tier read. This book asks the question, what if a man brought a bridge troll coffee every day? I liked the concept. It was simple. The ending did not make sense to me. Okay, that's it. It's May 7th, and I read Void by Veronica Roth, which I'm giving 3.5 stars, making it a B tier short story. In this one, we're following a woman. She works on this like traveling space station thing, and she works in sanitation. And one day there's a murder, and she's trying to figure out what happened. This story was pretty interesting, and in general, I liked the world building. It almost felt like I was reading something by James S.A. Corey, because it definitely took place in like this solar system, and so a lot of the names of things were similar. Like they referenced Ganymede, and the only reason I know about that is from the Expanse series, so that was a touch confusing, but nevertheless, still good. My weird story about this is just that I barely remember the last 5-ish minutes of this story because I was really trying to stay conscious. I like clearly didn't have enough oxygen going to my brain. This happens a lot. It's because of my chronic illness anyway. So like I have some memory lapse from the last 5-ish minutes of this book because I really pushed through, and as soon as I rated it, I like closed my eyes and let my brain reboot. When it did reboot, I was like, what happened at the end of the book? And I'm pretty sure I remember like big idea, big picture what happened, but I could probably read the last 5 minutes again and be like, I've never seen these words in my life before. But I'm not going to do that because I did read it and I rated it and everything before I closed my eyes. So I'm going to trust myself. I read it. 3.5 stars. Life is weird. Brains are weird. And short stories are a little weird too. It's the 8th. I read On Enemy Ground, which is the second book in that Vanishing Man serialization thingamabob. 3 stars, B tier. I don't have anything else to say about it. I do have something to say about this overall challenge though. Now here on day 8, it's a little bit annoying. I mainly say that because I have other things that I'm trying to read right now, and every day before I can read those things, I'm like, but I gotta read a whole story. And yeah, for some reason that's making all of these stories feel longer than they are. Also, I have this problem a lot with short books where I'm like, it's so short, it should be quick. And then it will be pretty quick. But when it's not like blink and you're done quick, I'm like, I thought this was supposed to be fast. So I don't know. I'm having that problem. Maybe I'll overcome that mental barrier by the end of this month. Maybe not. I guess we'll have to see. It is a little annoying every day to have to be like, okay, which of these stories am I reading today? Maybe that will feel better after I finish Squash That series. But right now, it's not my fave. On this, the 9th of May, I read In Bloom by Paul Tremblay, and I'm giving it 4 stars, making it an A tier read, which I feel like it's been a minute since we've had. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm forgetting days. But looking back at my list, I feel like it's been a minute. So thankful for my A tier book. This one is a horror story about algae. And I agree with that premise. Algae is terrifying. I've always thought it was weird. I understand why it exists, but like, it does freak me out a little bit. I don't think this story was actually scary, but for somebody to be like, I need a creature for my horror story, algae. Like, yeah, I respect that. I respect that call. Having an A tier book did make me feel better than I was yesterday about this whole situation. So, we are almost a third of the way there. Let's keep going. Happy Sunday. I was absolutely too lazy to update you yesterday. So, yesterday I did read an Amazon original story. Yesterday I did read a story I read, Shaken Not Stirred, which is the third and final one in The Vanishing Man, the one about the Russian spy. I didn't enjoy it. 2.5 stars, C tier. Okay? That whole trio, meh. It started out interesting, but then like it didn't amount to anything, in my opinion. So that's rough. But in return, today I have my first S tier read because I read Emergency Skin by N.K. Jemisin, which this might be the first N.K. Jemisin thing I've ever read. Anyway, and I'm giving it 5 stars. It's about this being who goes to Earth, which has been abandoned, or so he thinks, to collect this sample. And then he realizes everything is not what it seems. Humanity is alive and well on Earth, and he's been lied to a lot. It's told very creatively because it's told from the voice of like the reference thing in his head. It's the perfect type of story for a short story, and the messaging was fantastic. So yeah, S tier, 5 stars, yippee! 2 good short stories in a row? What? Today I read Ash Wednesday, and I'm giving it 4.5 stars. The difference between 4.5 and 5 stars, honestly, very vague. Made up. Yesterday, I felt like giving it 5 stars. Today, I didn't. I don't know what to tell you. So this book is a solid A tier read for me. It's a historical fiction about this really deadly school fire that I had never heard of before. Most people, I would say, haven't heard of before. My favorite thing in historical fiction is when it can teach me about an event or bring to my attention the fact that there was an event that I knew nothing about before. This one did that. Weird that I randomly picked one about a fire though, because I feel like the past week or so, fire has been very prevalent in things that I've been seeing and doing and thinking about, so that's weird. But regardless, A tier. Hooray! Almost S tier, really close. And I'm struggling with that decision, but I said it, it's final. That's how I feel. Rating books is hard. Why do I do this? Another A tier read today. 4 stars to Stag. It's a lit-ficky short story about a guy who goes to a divorce party. It's like a wedding, but the opposite. Literally, they do like a lot of the things opposite of how they did at the wedding. And the best part of this short story, hands down, is the pet tortoise Greeley. That's my whole review. Long live Greeley. Today I read Boca Raton, which is a lit-fic-ish short story about a mom who suddenly has crippling insomnia, like cannot sleep at all, because of climate anxiety. And although that's real, I only gave this 3 stars. It's a solid B tier read. I just didn't have any thoughts while reading it. Middle of the road. I read You've Arrived at Your Destination, and there were some interesting concepts about genetic engineering or genetic nudging, as they called it in this. But overall, like, what was the point of this story? So, 3 stars, B tier. There was too much in the one story, and I don't know that any of it mattered. That's it. Yesterday, I read Hazel and Grey, which is a Hansel and Gretel retelling, but so dark. I suppose the actual story of Hansel and Gretel is dark, but this one, oh my goodness, was just a lot because it's marked as YA on Goodreads. And I would say the main characters are teenagers. But do I think it's YA? I don't know. I do not know. I'm not an expert on that. Regardless, I'm giving it 4 stars, making it an A tier read because it was interesting. I was hooked the whole time, probably because it was absolutely bonkers. And this also means that I'm officially past the halfway mark of this challenge. And I have to say, I am ready for it to be done. But also, like, I'm having a pretty good time, which I'm pleased about. I'm reading things that I wouldn't try otherwise, and I think that's good for me. It's also helping that I'm in the middle of like a very long book for another project right now, and so having some quick reads while I'm working through that is very helpful for encouraging me to keep moving forward in the long book. It means that I'm still finishing reads while also making progress in a really chunky one, so have to give this challenge credit for that. That being said, I haven't read my story yet today, so I need to go do that. Okay, it's been a couple days. I've been reading these stories every day, so let's catch you up to where I am. On the 17th, I read Allison's Conviction. I gave it 3 stars, so a B-rated book. I really wanted to like this book. The main character is on the spectrum, so I was excited about it, but at the end of the day, this was marketed as a historical fiction book. Like, it's in a collection of historical fiction short stories, and it wasn't historical fiction. Did it reference somebody from the past? Yeah, they talked about her grandpa, but we didn't follow her grandpa. We were following her. This main character is told she has a bunch of debt to the government for being on disability even when she was working, but she was like, I was not working at that time, and so she has to fight the government about it. That's the short story. It was fine. It wasn't what I wanted it to be, which is always unfortunate. Then on the 18th, I read Ungirls, which I'm giving 4 stars purely out of curiosity while I was reading it. In this one, we're following, it's not a future world, but just kind of a dystopic view of the world where they've started to grow human body parts, first for organ replacement and then for other things. And it was disturbing and fascinating. The ending, like, what was the ending? But still, I'm making it an A-tier short story because I was compelled. And then today, on the 19th, I read I Would Be Doing This Anyway, which is about a woman during the pandemic. She ends up starting to work for one of her friends from college who is a famous influencer. And it's just about their dynamic. I gave it 3.5 stars, so B tier. I officially only have 11 days of this left. And today I once again did the kind of annoying process I have had to do every couple of days where I clear out the Amazon short stories I have read over the past few days and download more. And there's been a lot of balancing going on between that and the library books that I have out. And yeah, it's been a whole mess, but I'm getting through it. It's the 30th. You might be wondering what happened to time. I have been reading a short story every single day, even last night, which was crazy because last night I was working on another video, and so it was like 10:30 before I could start my short story for the day. So do I remember that one? I don't know. But I was traveling and things were a bit crazy, so I didn't update every day. Plus, I felt like the updates every day were getting a bit repetitive. So anyway, I'm not going to do it right now because I didn't mentally prepare myself for it, but I'm going to give you a rundown of all the ones I've read in that time. So we'll do like the second half of the month at one time. We'll sit down. I'll give you like a 1-sentence review. We'll tier rank them. I only have to do this for 2 more days, which thank goodness, because it's not that I'm sick of this video. It's that I have a ton of other stuff I want to be reading. So having to dedicate time to read one of each of these a day, it's just been a bit of a pain, to be completely transparent. So 2 more stories, and then we're done. I can do this. Okay, so I have 12 of these to go over, and I genuinely don't think there's like an interesting or fun way for me to do so. So I'm just kind of gonna go as fast as I can through them. How about that? I started off on the 20th with Neighbors, which was actually my only nonfiction short story of the month. It was about these 2 women. They were friends. They were neighbors. 3.5 stars, just fine. Then my most hated short story of the whole month was Lauren. Please, if you're gonna read this one, look up trigger warnings because the disordered eating was graphic in this one, and I feel like there was no warning, and also, like, why? Felt like that was the whole short story, and yeah, I just didn't like it. Then I read Mother Swamp, which was pretty good. I gave it 3.5 stars. It's about this matriarchal society that started out as escaped slaves in the swamp, and then, like, how they kept going. It was a nice premise. Then I read The Bookstore Family. I gave this 4.5 stars. It was about this woman. I'm pretty sure she baked. Am I remembering that correctly? She left home. She's far away from her family, and she missed her family. She wanted to go back. Relatable. Then I read The Princess Game, which was this very cool, like, interrogation style thing of all these princes trying to figure out what happened to these princesses, and I gave it 4 stars. Then I read Cruel Work. It was about this dude. I didn't care about it. I gave it 2.5 stars. Then I read Halfway to Free by Emma Donoghue. I love Emma Donoghue. I gave this 4 stars. In this one, we're in this society in the future where like nobody is reproducing anymore and everybody assumes that everyone's happy with that decision. So that was pretty interesting. Then I read The Best Girls, which, if I'm remembering that correctly, was about being a good daughter. The ending was crazy. I just remembered that, but I gave it 3 stars. It was just fine. Then I read If You're Lonely and You Know It, which was about this man who was taking care of his ex-stepdaughter's pit bull, and that was fine too, 3 stars. Then I read Persephone. I genuinely cannot remember what that was about, except that magical powers were involved. I gave it 3 stars. Second to last, woo, almost there. I read 2043, A Merman I Should Be. This one made no sense to me, and the writing was all over the place. I gave it 2 stars, and then I ended with Death Row by Frida McFadden, which was that bonus short story for the Amazon First Reads last month. I gave it 3.5 stars. It was a pretty interesting premise. We were following this woman who was on death row. She was like, I'm on death row for killing my husband, except I didn't kill him. And we're kind of following that story. The ending was super weird. Like, it was going to be a 4 star maybe throughout, and then, I don't know. The ending just got Frida McFadden-y, you know? She does stuff. I don't know. And this was no different. So anyway, this is my final tier ranking of all of these. My favorite was Emergency Skin by N.K. Jemisin. My least favorite was Lauren. I forget the author's name. And what did I learn from this experience? Reaffirm the fact that even though I love a short, quick book, I actually don't really particularly like short stories. I found it really hard to focus on a lot of these, which is crazy because they're supposed to be short and easy to get through, but for some reason I just couldn't sink into them and get through a lot of them without getting distracted all the time. Some of them were very confusing, but it was nice because I got to sample a lot of these authors without having to commit to a whole book. And there are some that, like, now I know I liked N.K. Jemisin's world building, so I should definitely prioritize N.K. Jemisin in like novel length format, all of her works, because I've never read one of them before. But I gave her short story the best rating out of all of these. So like, that's great. Would I do this again? Probably not. If I do, remind me that it was a mistake this time, just because I was tired of it by the end, sooner than the end. But like, by the end, I was really tired of it. And also it just made balancing all my other reading priorities kind of hard, because some days I'd be like, oh, I have to read my short story, but then like, some of them aren't as short as you think. So I'd spend an hour, hour and a half reading one, and I'd be like, wow, that was actually all my reading time for today. And all I read was this short story instead of making progress in all my very long books. So kind of a toss-up. I'm glad I did this though. It was a good experiment. And I've been very curious about some of these collections for a long time, so I'm glad that I got to test them out. With all that said, I'm going to end this vlog here. If you liked it, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below, do you like Amazon original stories? If so, do you have a recommendation of your favorite, or one that I should definitely avoid, one of your least favorites? And subscribe for more bookish and college lifestyle content. And until next time, bye humans, bye!